In the news this week, young voters to make up their minds on who to choose as Premier.
Plus, does it stack up? Experts not optimistic about election promises made by both sides of politics.
And on Western Perspective, diversifying politics, Asian contribution in Western Australian government.
This is the Evening News.
Good evening. Young voters are facing a dilemma of choices in the upcoming state election with promises on education, training and jobs. This week, reporter Nelson Liu speaks exclusively with Liberals Minister for Youth Paul Miles and Labour's Shadow Youth Minister Dave Kelly on who should we choose and why we should care.
They're the younger generation heading to the booths on polling day, and the major parties are targeting them in the state election.
Young people really are the future of the state.
Look, the Liberal Party has got lots to offer young people.
With the election 1 month away, both Liberal and Labor have pitched the importance of young people and their solutions affecting them. The Liberal Party says they'll improve opportunities for youth education and community involvement.
For us, it's about creating opportunity.
While Labor believes they have the answers for youth unemployment and lifestyle with apprenticeships, Metronet and arts funding.
There's lots of elements of that which are very positive for young people.
But despite both parties' promises, they believe young people aren't indifferent to the major parties and policies and urge them to help rebuild WA's economy and community.
I would just encourage young people to get involved, have your say, but make your vote count on March the 11th.
While the Liberal Party is aiming to provide education opportunities for young people, Labor is offering skills training and jobs. But no matter who you choose, it appears the kingmaker is One Nation, according to the latest polls. Nelson Liu, WAMN News.
There are many promises in from both sides of politics during the campaign to ensure that the budget is back in black within the next 4 years. However, finance experts believe the surplus promise will soon be broken no matter who is in charge. Andrew Fuster has the story.
The state's debt has passed $40 billion, which is making headlines and for good reason. With the state election on the horizon, both parties need to convince voters that they can keep the state afloat. More promises were made by both parties this week, but the issue of the current state budget was on everyone's mind. Premier Colin Barnett explains where the funds have gone, which caused this state deficit.
So over 90% of that debt has been on electricity, water, schools, hospitals, public transport and roads. That's where it's gone. Now, is that irresponsible? I don't think so. Not at all. And we have a clear plan to deal with that level of debt, and that is to privatise half of Western Power.
Opposition leader Mark McGowan says Liberals have a bad track record.
He's the one who's produced the situation confronting the state today, and now he says he's the one to fix it. It's ridiculous.
While both parties try to convince us they're the best bet when it comes to handling the state's finances, Professor of Finance Robert Duran says we shouldn't be too worried.
You've got two parties, none of whom are credible in my mind, and I think also to the financial markets. And they're the important people because they're going to provide the money that we need for these projects.
Andrew Fuster, WAMN News.
Protesters gathered at the city this week to oppose the federal government's plan to change the Migration Act. The change will mean adults who were sent to Manus and Nauru after arriving by boat cannot apply for any visas to Australia. Demonstrators labelled the proposed policy as Islamophobic, fearing it will separate families and encourage racism.
It effectively separates families because it stops people from seeking a better life. It makes Australia shirk its responsibilities refugee convention. It's essentially legitimising torture by allowing Australia to have people in the offshore camps, and even the ones who are onshore are being treated horrifically.
The city of Melville is facing residential backlash over the proposed wave park construction in Alfred Cove. Residents are upset about the park's location as they fear the increase in traffic, environmental damage and antisocial behaviour of the project. The Mayor says the development will have to be approved by the Environment Minister if the motion is passed at the next council meeting.
We want the City of Council to reject this proposal. They are well aware of the values of this site, and they're very aware too of the need for public open space for the people.
The city is keen to have all this resolved and to make sure that if it is a viable and good recreational usage for our city, then we will move forward with that.
A rally was held to get the Health Department's attention about asbestos findings at the Row 8 construction sites. Protesters want to have access to the dust monitoring information collected by the Row 8 Alliance. Coburn Mayor Logan Howlett says it's a valid health concern for the local community.
What we're focusing on is the release by the Road Alliance of their dust monitoring information, their testing of that. The fact that they failed to do that, the city stepped in and has started to take its own dust samples now. We'll send them off to accredited NATA laboratory, and we hope to have the results early next week.
US President Donald Trump has made a shock move by telling Chinese President Xi Jinping that he will honour the One China policy during a phone conversation. Both leaders also discussed a range of other issues, according to a statement by the White House. The recognition means that the United States will cut diplomatic relations with Taiwan, as China considers it as a breakaway state. It comes after Mr. Trump made a series of aggressive comments on China regarding unfair trade practices.
The iconic landmark, the Eiffel Tower, is set to get an upgrade in the light of recent terror attacks in France. This upgrade will cost 20 million euros and involve the north and south ends of the tower getting a 2.5 metre high bulletproof glass barrier setting around them. There are fears that the wall around the tower will prevent tourists from visiting the attraction, but the authority says this is needed to be done to protect the monument. And those are the stories you need to know this week.
We have more news on our website and Facebook. See you next week.
See ya.